good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Fierce and Fabulous Society talk show. And we come here live every single week, Tuesday at 7 p.m., and bring you some quite fabulous women who are in business, out there doing their thing, stepping up into their power, facing all the challenges that we all face together. We are all human beings. We all face all the same most of the time. And these women have come in to share just their stories, their experiences with us. And tonight, have we got the most incredible guest. But before we go on to talk more about who she is, let me introduce myself for those who are joining us this evening who don't yet know me. My name's Mary-Ann Smith. I'm a personal transformation and business coach. I've been coaching for over 30 years. How did that happen? I know I should stop saying that because I find myself repeating it, but it's amazing. And I love the fact that I'm now in my 50s and living the best life that I've ever lived, with more ambition, more drive, and more motivation than ever. And I get to meet, in the world of entrepreneurship, some quite spectacular people on that journey. And I've been announcing over the last couple of weeks an exciting event that I'm pulling together, and I've just launched, and it's the Fierce and Fabulous Society Women and Business Summit 2021. And we're going to be bringing to you not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 9 6 and multi-7-figure businesswomen who, how do I describe them? They're all pretty ordinary. And I mean that with the utmost respect. If you walk past them in Asda, you wouldn't even blink. And that's the beauty of them, because as you look out in this online space and you see everybody talking about 6 and multi-7-figure and who's doing what, you think, that's never me. I'm not good enough to do that. Well, we're here to give you a message that you absolutely are. And these women are going to be showing up to share with you their experiences, their stories, their challenges, their strategies for pushing forward despite the challenges that they're facing. And as we all start to think about, because we should be thinking about it right now, even though it's only October 2022 in a post-pandemic world, they'll be sharing with us their thoughts for their industries and kind of things we should all be thinking about as we move forward in our lives and in our businesses. And that Women in Business Summit is completely free, because the purpose is to reach as many women as we possibly can. So do look out for it. It's running from the 3rd to the 5th of November. And if that isn't good enough, right after the event, on the Sunday, it finishes on the Friday, and on the Sunday, there will be a welcome party for everyone who joined the summit to share and take part in for a whole 5 days, a 5-day workshop that will support you to put all of your learning from the summit into practice. So at the end of it, you are ready for 2022. You have got plans in place and you're ready to make that your best year yet. And we just had confirmed that for the Monday of that, as a business, I've always supported B1G1, which is an international company which supports good across business. And so for every client that I bring on, I also donate mentorship months, education months for women in all different parts of the world and for children. And this event, the summit, will also be supporting that. And we have Masami Suto, who is the founder of B1G1, also has agreed to join us in the 5-day workshop after the event, which is quite incredible. So look out to see who your speakers are. We have some incredible women. We have Lisa Johnson, who is a business strategist. And this year I had the privilege of actually witnessing her last launch, where she made 3.5 million. So if you're thinking the online space is crowded and there isn't space for you, think again. We also have Abigail Horn, who is a publisher. Oh my goodness, if I just started saying this, we have Charlie Day, who is an entrepreneur. We have so many people. Tina Brigley, coaching from High Performance Coach. Look out online to get more information about it. Get yourself signed up and secure your place. So, the Fierce and Fabulous Society talk show. And tonight I have the absolute pleasure of introducing to you an amazing woman who sometimes I have to admit, when she starts chatting, I go, oh my goodness, she challenges every fibre of this female body of mine. And I think, I never thought of that before. And she is hopefully going to open your eyes, open your body to new and emerging things that are inside you, but maybe undiscovered. I am really proud to say that I've got my colleague, friend, and fellow coach, Kerry O'Sullivan, here with me. And Kerry, good evening.
Hey,
I love this.
what an
You are.
intro!
Oh, do you like it? I like this one. Tantric embodiment goddess. I mean,
Oh
who
yeah.
has a tantric embodiment goddess as a colleague and a guest on a show? Me. It is so amazing to see you tonight. And I have
Oh,
to
thanks for
tell
having me,
everybody,
George.
oh, you are welcome. I actually feel so privileged because not only we were playing with this, everybody, just before you came on, as I was checking all of the names that I had organised, but not only is this woman a tantric embodiment goddess, and there's so much more to her than that statement even does any justice. She is also best-selling author of Surrender to Your Truth. And we're going to be referring to that right through this evening. And if that isn't enough, you might be sitting there thinking, I know her. How do I know her? Jim, come here. Come here, Dad. Do you know her? Well, you will know her because last Wednesday evening, she starred on, here it comes, Channel 4's documentary, Sex Actually. How cool is that? She is as seen on TV.
Oh, I love it.
Kerry, honestly, it's a real privilege to see you because I know that I met you earlier on this year and I've been getting
Mm.
to know you over the last 6-9 months or so. And it's a real privilege to have you on to be able to just chew some fat with you tonight.
Oh, it's lush.
Can you, I know I've given a big loud introduction, but could you maybe do some justice and put some detail into that and share with everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, so my title's already there, and actually my title's slightly longer than a tantric embodiment goddess. I call myself like an energy alignment and tantric embodiment goddess because energy is a huge foundation about
Mm.
everything that I do. But ultimately, I work with women who have lost that connection with themselves. They've lost that disconnection with themselves, and they feel like there is more. They know there is more. They feel it in their bodies that there is more, but they don't necessarily know what that more is. They just know they're feeling unfulfilled, not really fulfilled in the sexual department, not feel fulfilled in their bodies, not feeling their absolute essence, and they just feel like, yeah, they need to shine their light brighter. They might be successful in business, successful in lots of areas in their life, but actually when it comes to their true authentic self, the rawness of their soul,
Yeah.
there's a disconnect, and they know they're not necessarily leaning into everything that they are, and maybe they're hiding part of themselves. And I work with women to unleash the
Oh,
goddess
I love
within,
that word.
and to really lean in. And lean in, I love that word because it really, that is kind of everything that I embody, but to lean into everything, and that's leaning into the stuff that makes them want to run away,
Yeah, yeah,
especially, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
In order to lean, if you lean into that, then actually it opens up so much more in your life. But a lot of the time, we as women suppress our feelings, our emotions, our sexuality, our power, because of other
Mhm.
people, because of other influences. And working with me, I connect them to all of the power so they feel proud and embodied to be the person they really want to be, ultimately.
Oh, wow. There is so much. I'm sitting there and I could just be like a nodding dog, right? Because I think everything you're saying, I'm going, I know about that. I recognize that. I resonate with that. Because
Mm.
actually, I mean, for me coming out, I am actually exactly who you've just described as your ideal client. Because when I think back to a time in my life when I was I was high performing, always have been high achieving.
Mm.
Everybody would clap like seals at me because I would always be able to 150% achieve in everything that I did. And inside, I was miserable and for years could not work it out, Kerry. And
And
I
also
actually,
searching as well. I think that's the thing I find with a lot of the women. It's like they're
totally,
searching, they're going from one course to the next, going
yeah,
to everything outside of themselves, searching for that thing that's going to be the thing that is
yeah,
going to totally connect them in. But
yeah.
actually, that thing is here.
Totally. I went from one academic qualification to another, and one job to another, and then every
Mm,
single job move I did, I'd get there, it'd be fantastic, everybody would clap really quickly, and I'd be bored within 14 days. And
yeah.
then I'd spend another 3 years convincing myself that I should be grateful, and it was a miserable existence. And I always remember there was actually it was another coach I once knew, who did a lot of work, kind of similar to you but not quite. And I remember having a conversation with her once at a time when I knew nothing about energies, nothing,
Mm,
right? And she says, "You're very masculine."
mm.
And I remember thinking to myself, sweetheart, do you know,
Yeah.
masculine, moi? Do you know, I'm not masculine. She doesn't know what she's talking about. But it's when you talked about energies there, I don't know. I think every single day I talk about masculine and feminine energies these days.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of the beautiful things, there's so many beautiful things in your book, so many beautiful things. And as I was preparing for tonight, I've read this about 3 times. And as I shared with Kerry before we came on, it's got dog ears on it, do you know, as I've dipped in and out. But one of the things that you talk about is actually about being able to dance with your masculine and feminine energy.
Mm, mm.
And I often say to people it's about having an Argentinian tango. So when I read those words, it really meant something. Can you
Yeah.
maybe share with people who don't know much about that, or just don't know, are thinking, what are they two talking about?
Yeah.
What are we talking about, Kerry?
So, like what you just said, firstly, about like being called masculine, like my whole entire life, I was in the masculine energy, but never really knew it until I learned about masculine and feminine energy. So that really resonated with me. But when I understood that actually, no matter whether you're in a female or a male identified body, that actually we have both energies within us. And when we learn the characteristics of being a masculine energy, so like doing, getting jobs done, task orientated, with the kind of feminine flowing, going with the flow, flirtatious, playfulness. When you learn about the different types of energy, you can learn to dance between them depending on what you need. So, sometimes we need some of the masculine energy in us to get the job done and to really focus our attention to what we need to do. But actually, there's a real beauty and essence in kind of dipping into the feminine, because that was part of me that I'd never ever done. I'd never gone with the flow. I'd never um even understood what it'd be like to just be
Yeah,
spontaneous and just kind of like have days with nothingness and just to go with like ease and flow of the day. And
yeah,
actually, and I was like, oh my gosh, how have I missed my whole entire life without even dipping into feminine? So this whole concept of dancing is, once you're aware of your leading energy, aware of like the different characteristics of the energies, you can use them to your ability, to the what to your own power, to what you need it for, rather than kind of being going down one particular route and always being that way. And
yeah,
in my course, The Goddess Awakening, there's a section where I kind of talk to them about, like, this week, dial up your masculine, and these are all the different ways you can do that. Step into your feminine. And one of my favourite ways to step into your feminine, which sounds quite out there, but is to go Nicholas for the day. Right, take your knickers off, right, and go out and just feel that, like, feel the earth, feel the
yeah.
vibrancy of actually being alive and being truly in your feminine, in your power, and connecting to your pussy that way. So there's lots of ways you can do it, but that's just one of the ways.
Do you know, I'm laughing because I remember a few months ago having this conversation and you telling me that's just giving me that example. Do you know, going
Yeah.
Nicholas, it stuck in my head. right? Stuck in my head. And then when I went to Portugal earlier this year, my first ever like solo trip
Oh,
away.
I remember now. Yeah.
Oh wow. And I actually I met somebody, and she was from, it wasn't Lithuania, I'm forgetting. Anna, I'm sorry, I've forgotten. But she was saying about, just wearing a dress and maybe not having your knickers on. And it just immediately reminded me of our conversation.
Mm,
So one day, I did exactly that. And I went
yeah.
shopping, you won't
Try
believe
it.
this, for sardines without. In 50 years, I had never done that. And it was a
Because it's
holiday of
playful as well. It's about being
it
playful. And it's almost
totally.
like it's not about anybody else, it's about you knowing. Like my mum always used to say to
Yeah,
me, make sure you've always got a clean pair of knickers on. That's what mum always said to me. Because if you ever have an accident or anything ever happens, you've got a clean pair of knickers on. And so I thought, well, I quite like the idea of just being naughty and not doing what I was told, and just actually just
totally.
being a bit wild with it.
There was something really empowering about me being the only one that knew it. Now,
Yeah.
I was just off to go and get some fresh sardines from a Portuguese market, trying to practice my Portuguese, but nobody in that fish market. So I didn't have any knickers on, but except me. Now, I didn't
Yeah.
do it all day because actually I just took a pair with me and put them on later. I think I maybe need to
Oh,
work
do it
into
all
doing it
day.
longer,
Oh, I
but I
love
did
it.
it. I did it just for
Mm,
the experience, and I can so understand what that means.
mm,
So understand what that means. And you
yeah.
were also the woman responsible for me going skinny dipping.
Yeah. It's not all about getting naked and showing your body parts, but there is something that's just so delicious when you kind of
Yes.
just, it's almost like, yeah, it's like the rawness and the kind of, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the animalistic kind of, like
Yeah,
just stripping yourself right back to your
yeah.
body, and I just, yeah, it's nothing better
It
than
really
going in the
does.
sea naked.
And I remember, honestly, you were very present on that trip, even though you had no idea. You had no idea. And I remember you've got a picture and you have in some of I think it's on your website actually, and you're on a
Mm,
beach and you've got a beige dress on. And I remembered that I remember one day sitting, I went for a skinny dip. By the way, everybody, there was nobody there. I was completely alone on this most amazing beach, and with sea, blue sky, as I sat just at the edge of the water, completely naked, with the
mm,
water just brushing up against me. And I never felt so connected to myself and to the
yeah.
earth than I
Mm,
had in my entire life in that moment. And
yeah.
it was truly beautiful.
And the pictures you took, I remember a picture of you just kind of like wrapped in a towel or half wrapped in it. It was gorgeous. It was just so beautiful. Yeah.
I think I might have shared ones with you that I didn't share with anybody else.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But because
it
there
was
was
fun.
ones that I don't think I'll be putting on social media anytime soon.
I think you should. I think you should.
But do you know, they were actually embracing. I was talking about this today actually on social media because Jamie Lee Curtis, I'd read a thing recently, and she had said that cosmetic surgery has robbed us of decades of natural beauty. And just putting it
Mm,
out there as to what people thought about it, do you know? Do you just love like your retreatments and stuff, or are you saying no? And I know I'm for one at the moment, I'm no touching them. Do you know? I can barely wear false nails, yet alone put a filler in my face. I'm just not into it. Um,
yeah.
but it's that thing for me of just being able to look at my face, whether it's aging and drooping a bit wrinkly, a bit curvier than it used to
Mm,
be,
yeah.
and still be able to love it in that moment and not compare myself to others or to something in the past.
Yeah.
And that for me comes down to me connecting more with that feminine energy that you talk about.
And with the changes and the acceptance that we all change, like that we're not going to be in the same bodies we were when we were in our 20s, and actually we are where we are, and it's
Yeah.
about accepting where we are, because when you accept where you are, it's more likely to move in a direction where you want it to go. So if you
Yeah.
do want to lose a bit of weight, or you do want to tone up, or you do just want to feel better in your body, when you start to accept and give your body love how it is now, as opposed to yearning for something that it was, there's just something that happens in you when you start to
Yeah.
do that.
Totally get it. And I know that one of the other things you also talk about is a wounded feminine and a wounded masculine. Now,
Mm,
I had never really thought about it in those terms, but we often hear people talking about being people pleasers.
mm.
And actually, I would never have thought before about that being wounded feminine. Do you tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's more about like just recognizing like the shadow parts of ourselves. So it's not necessarily, I mean, obviously they fall into the feminine and masculine characters, but it's about like recognizing, when we go into paranoia, or we go into places of real vulnerability where we feel shame or anger, all these different things that we might feel that we've been told in the past that we shouldn't feel, or there's always a reason that we feel a certain way, and it's generally because there's some part of us that wants love in some way. So when you get to learn your kind of wounded, I mean, it's called wounded side, but it's kind of like dark, but not dark in it being a bad part of you, but just a part of you that maybe you've never really recognized or acknowledged as part of you.
Yeah.
And it might be that something you just default into when something happens in your life. You just kind of go into this place of like victim, or like needy, and like, oh, I just need I need this, I need that, and everyone's not doing it for me. Or like, it's like recognizing what is it you need, because a lot of the time, again, it's that projection into like
Yeah.
everybody else and everything else. But actually, what is it that you need from yourself right now, and why do you feel that way? Because a lot of the time we're not necessarily saying what we really feel, but it's like a mask for that
Yeah.
when we go into that place. So it's just recognizing all of you, as opposed to just trying to say, oh, I want to be playful, in flow, and all the beautiful things that come with being in feminine. But actually, part of being a feminine is that maybe we are a bit loopy loo once a month when we're due on our period. And actually, what happens in those moments? What do we need when we're in those places, when we're in that real rawness and vulnerability? What
Yeah.
is it that our body's asking from us? Like, what are we
Totally.
asking from ourselves, not just from anyone else? Like, to rest, like sometimes we just push through these things, but actually it's about having a conversation with those parts of ourselves.
Yeah. I think you say there's a quote. I love your book because there's these pages that just have these quotes on them. And I just found out tonight if I got the hardback, I'd get it in colour. So I'll just maybe get myself a hardback. But they're really powerful quotes. And one of them
Yeah.
is, you do know the real you. She has never left your side.
Mm. Oh yeah, I
That's
feel
really
that.
powerful. Really powerful. I've brought my daughters up doing quite a lot of mirror work. Do you know, when
Mm.
it was like, just take time in the morning to look at that amazing person in the mirror who is always with you, always
Yeah.
with you. She's always there in the mirror waiting for you, no matter when you turn up, how much you ignore her. Um, and I always, for me anyway, that's how I connect with reminding myself of who I am, and that
Mm.
woman is there. And sometimes I'll ask her some questions, or I might tell her some nice things if that's what I'm feeling. So how do you work with women to help them to be able to connect with that woman that is inside them? The one that has never is always there, but they've maybe just not noticed, or they've been neglecting for a
Well, I've
while.
not listened to them for quite
Yeah,
some time. It's
yeah,
it's about slowing everything down. And so the reason why I like at the beginning of the program that I do, it's like the Goddess Awakening. It's always about like listening to what's there. So a lot of the time we're trying to like be happy, or do our gratitude journal and think about all the things that we're told to do, our meditations. It's like, but are you listening to what is actually there? Are you taking 5 minutes a day just to be and listen to the body? And for a lot of the people that I work with, even that concept of taking 5 minutes for themselves feels massive. Like it's like, I don't have time to do that.
Mm.
And so the thing is, they do have time. It's about making the time. So I teach them kind of how to empower themselves to put themselves first, because when they put themselves first, they are the best version of themselves with everybody around them. Because quite often the women that I work with, or even speak to about working with me, one of the biggest things they come up with is, oh, I can't invest in myself. I can't do that for myself because they're so used to doing everything for everyone else. So when you even
Totally.
ask someone to take 5 minutes with themselves, they think, well, how can I? There's too much else to be done. It's like, well,
Yeah.
you have to, because how are you ever going to know what's really going on in here, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and how your energy is, if you're not even listening to what it is your body's asking for, what it is you desire, what it is you need. And so that it all starts with that acknowledgement, and then we go into, like, which is a real bit of expansion, really, is, what are you running away from?
Yeah.
Like, what are you running away from? Because what are the parts of you that you are so scared to even admit to yourself, let alone admit to the world?
Yeah.
And so the containers that I create are places where you feel like it feels really raw for you to be seen by another woman. So the groups that are generally with women, or they're always with
Yeah.
women, but very small groups, because actually just to be seen by themselves is huge. So then to be seen by another woman is huge. And that is all part of the process again. So they become empowered in this container, and realizing that they're not alone, that actually there's other women out there that feel exactly the same. And so when they actually speak out those things that they dare not tell a soul, they then realize, oh my gosh, I'm not the only person. And then they
Yeah.
start to rebuild the confidence and the power in their own truth. And that's just like magical.
Yeah. Because there's part of me as I'm really listening to you, I'm just aware of what my body's doing, and I think I'm hearing it, thinking I can imagine that that must be when you're in that space. Once you're in that space, that is will be quite incredible, liberating, fulfilling, energizing. I mean, there'll be so many amazing words to attribute to that. I can't quite imagine it. I don't know if my mind can actually, you would have to be there, but I can also feel a bit of anxiety
Yeah.
about going into a space. And I'm just a normal woman, so I'm going to assume that there'll be other women listening to this going, aye, that sounds amazing, but there's no way I could do that.
Yeah, and you know
No
what?
way.
The last two, obviously, since I was on TV last week, I've had so many calls with people like that really really want to work with me, which is amazing, right? But one of the biggest fear that's kind of run through all the calls is, what if I open up this Pandora's box and I
Oh,
literally end up in somewhere else? Like, I'll end up losing the plot. I end up like mucking my whole life up, and like,
yeah,
this is stuff that I've never told a soul. And I
yeah,
absolutely resonate, because when all this stuff come up for me, when I started on this journey only 5 years ago, I felt
wow,
exactly the same way. Like, how can I even like say this stuff out loud? How can I, like, I couldn't understand how I was kind of grieving, going through the motions, feeling the pain and the stuff that I'd felt all those years ago. And the thing is, I don't like deny that anyone that comes and works with me, there is going to be snot and tears. There is going to be moments where you want to run away, but the difference is I'm there to support
yeah,
them, and the other women are there to support them. So it isn't a container that's all sort of bells and whistles and all happy, happy, happy. It's actually everything. It's whatever comes
mhm,
up for you. And
mhm,
you could go through a journey and be like cozy and just feel like, yeah, just deepening the pleasure, deepening like life and joy and all the good stuff. But you might have to go through a bit of shit along the way and embrace it and feel it and embody it in order for you to get to that place. And for me, I love the stuff that comes up for me. And like, as an embodied woman, stuff comes up for me all the time. I'm still like, I've been through some stuff in the last week, and I have been crying for like ridiculously. I've cried so much. I have embodied so much. I've spent time by the sea. I've listened to my body. I've spoke to my body. I've journaled. I've done so much stuff because I'm still doing this work. There's no ending. Yeah.
No.
And once you go on that path, it becomes a way of life, and you wouldn't have it any other way. Because sometimes I've said to myself, like in those moments of complete rawness, I've said, oh my gosh, being numb was so much easier.
Yeah,
Because like when
totally.
you don't feel anything, but actually if you're numb, then you're not really living. And it's not just about the living of life as it is, but it's like what you desire, what you want, like the expansion of what there is to have in terms of pleasure in life. And for me, I don't want to live on the ceiling anymore. I'm living for the rooftops, like
Totally. Totally. And it's like I often say to people, see, once you open this door, it's a one-way door. Once it's open, you can't shut the damn thing. And there's
mm,
days that you just go, oh God, I wish it would be just so much easier if things were just
yeah,
black and white and on that plateau. But when it's open, oh, you have to hold that change all the time. So even as a woman, right, even as a woman, because I know that there's people out there who I've done a whole load of self-development and had some real transformations in the last decade that I don't even recognize my old self. I've got pictures, Kerry, of my old self. I look at least 10 years older, 10
mm,
years ago in them.
yeah.
So the beauty came from within out. It's not been because I've done anything to my face or anything. But I know how disruptive hearing that feels to me.
Mm.
And that's after I think my door's really open. It
And
can feel
yeah,
really disruptive, even just listening to it. And you mentioned you mentioned the P word earlier on. And
what
I even
pussy?
the pussy word, the pussy, and you talk about pussy power. And actually, I still have the need to giggle.
I know, and do you know what? I was really triggered by that word, even probably like 2, 3 years ago when I was on this journey. I thought it was disgusting, the most disgusting word ever. And I've been on a journey with that word alone, just
Yeah,
to embrace it. And actually, you can call your powerful center whatever you want to call it, but please connect to it. That sounds to me like I know Abigail's just joined, and she's like, I've joined at the wrong time. We've only just started talking about that, Abigail. A little bit where she just retreats. So just stay here, my lovely, because you need to hear this, my love. Um, and so yeah, we had this big discussion recently. Yes, it tuppence about what do you call yours, and Abigail was like, I call mine tuppence. And was it you who called it, or was it someone else? I can't remember. On this massive thread around what do we call ours. But and there was a real taboo around that. But I think sometimes that's even a distraction
yeah,
because it's like doesn't really matter what you call her. It's like it's just about that connection, right? And
yeah,
I keep taking in my goddess behind me, so she's like the front cover of my book, and that place is where I take women to. That's the place where I am, yeah, in that place of surrender, and it's like surrendering to the good, surrendering to the pleasure, surrendering to the pain, surrendering to everything. And the power is coming from all those three energy centers: the head, the heart, and the hara, or the pussy, or the tuppence, or the womb, or the vagina, or the whatever you want to call it, vulva, yoni, right? It's like it's all there to be accessed, my lovelies. And I think that like some of the stuff we've already talked about, the those areas need to be like that's why it's a journey. Those areas need to be explored in order for you to be open to that power because it is so powerful. And
yeah,
sometimes the thought of it is so scary, and that's probably because there's other work to be done first around you receiving and connecting into the kind of the power and the extent of that power that you can be as a woman, as an individual.
because the thing is, the one thing right, we're going to start talking about where you were last week, right? You were on national television. You were in my living room last week.
No, I still can't get over it, to be
It
fair.
was mad. And I know there was a whole load of us all cheering you on from the living rooms. I mean, my husband was sitting next to me going, what is this? Would you do that? Do you know the curiosity? But he put down his paper. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in there, I know that this is one of the things you talked about was all around pussy power. And I could see, what was the presenter's name? I've just forgotten her
Alice
name.
Levine.
Yeah, and I could see as you could see her eyes trying to connect with the words that you were saying. And as you stood with her, telling her just to put her hands down there and connect, and you could feel the disruption that was present in her as she did it. And there was a lot of talk around, this isn't about sex. It's not a sexual thing. And even in our living room, it was going, how can that not be a sexual thing? So talk us through a bit of that, Kerry.
Because, I mean, obviously you can use sexual energy to have sex with yourself or with a partner, right? You're obviously activating that energy. But what I teach women is how to activate that energy for everything in your life. And so it's sexual energy, but the way, obviously, there was a lot of cut out of the show, right? So that's that scene with Alice. I was probably in the kitchen with her for half an hour doing some embodiment work, but they only showed like 1 minute of it. So when you're doing that connection, it's about like your pussy has
Mhm.
a dialogue. So in the same way that your mind talks to you, in the same way that your heart tells you something and you feel something in your heart, your pussy has an absolute dialogue, and she will speak your head off if you let her, right? She knows what a yes is, she knows what a no is, she knows if she gets excited about something, she knows if she's not excited about something. And so what I teach women is how to speak to that powerful center, because it's not just about sex, sexuality, who you are as a woman, as a wild goddess, and all these things that come into that. But it's also about how can you use that energy for creativity, for manifestation, about everything that you desire in life. And you can do that without touching yourself, without taking your clothes off, just as you are right now.
Okay.
So let's just try it, shall we?
Let's just try it. You know, I'm game.
So, so for anyone that's listening, even if Abigail's still live, you've got to do this as well, right? Because she's like, oh my God, I can't do this.
Abigail, get in
And
the chat. Get in the chat.
and
And
no,
folks,
don't get
as
in the
we're going
chat. Don't
along,
get in the chat because at the moment, because I want you all to listen to your
oh,
body.
well, listen, just remember, as we're going along, apart from what we're about to do, if you do have questions for Kerry as we're going along, put them into the chat. But I want you to get present and right. We're all honing into what you've got to say, Kerry.
Right, so all just close your eyes for a moment and just take a few breaths and bring yourself to your seat. If you're laying down, wherever you are, if you're driving, obviously don't do this. And just sit there and just take a moment, bringing yourself to this moment in time. Just taking some breaths, letting out any sound that might be in your body. Maybe this is the first time that you've actually stopped today. So just taking a breath. And another one. And now, before we even touch our body or do anything to our body, I just want you to say out loud or say in your mind, how do I feel about connecting to my sexual energy? And just listen and see if anything happens in your body. Maybe you feel a little contraction, maybe your heartbeat starts to go, maybe you feel a bit cold, maybe you feel nothing, right? Just acknowledging that for a moment. And now just placing your hand over or around your vulva, your pelvis, your belly, even if that feels too much. And just taking a few breaths here. So breathing into your hands. Imagine if that's on top of your vulva or on your belly, just breathing in and out. Really giving yourself permission to exhale like as you're doing it, breathing in. And again, breathing in. And if you have still got your hand or cupping, if you feel comfortable to, cupping your vulva, the outside of your pussy, your yoni, your womb, yeah, placing your hand there. And just saying, hello, how are you? Can you feel this? And just noticing what happens, noticing if anything happens, and know that there's no right or wrong, just acknowledging. And then just taking a couple of breaths here. And then saying any words that might feel good for you, I'm going to say out loud, I am listening. I am here. And then when you're ready, just coming away. And I'd just love to know if you felt anything. And if you didn't, that's absolutely fine. We haven't activated that area yet. And that's something that I would do sometimes in my workshops. We do some activations to wake it up a little bit, but we didn't do any of that today. But we did a little breath work, and it was hopefully, I don't know, I can feel the energy is different already. It feels
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
calm.
it
Yeah,
does.
like something's happened in the energy.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you, hun?
Do you know, I think what was going on, what was I very really aware of was that I was on camera. So it was trying to detach myself at that point.
Mm.
But actually, this is the first time I've stopped all day. Have I ever given my body that focus there? Not really. Not in that way, anyway. Um, and what was that? I suppose it made me conscious of, but you said when it had a voice. And part of me could feel a little giggle going, oh, do you know, as I imagined it. But actually, at the same time, I thought, well, why wouldn't it? Because it does send you messages and tells you things all the time. But
Well,
I never
and it's got
really
the power to bring life into this world, yeah. Like
absolutely
it's a powerful, and you bleed each month from it, and like it's how many things could you contribute to this beautiful part of your body, right?
totally,
And
totally. And yet we can
Victoria
all
stopped dusting to sit down for the first time. Yes, this is what we've got to do. Fiona said so relaxing. It's like
Mhm,
taking that time, and that was just like that was like less than a minute we did that for, right? Or
tiny.
maybe a minute. And but imagine how much connection you could have with your body, not just your pussy, actually your whole entire body, if you just took that time every day to listen, speak
Yeah,
to it, and hear what it has to say.
yeah,
And that's why it's not about sex. It's about
yeah,
connection. It's about power. It's about harnessing energy. And this is just another powerful energy, like your brain, like your heart, another powerful energy that is just so untapped by women and
yeah,
has the most amazing, and this is what the Channel 4 show is showing, the kind of healing that can happen when you connect to that part of your body, when you can listen and connect to what's there and what it's trying to
yeah,
say, what it's trying to release. It
yeah.
is phenomenal, and it has changed my life, which is why I'm so passionate about it.
Wow. And the thing is, when you'd said, we touched on this just at the beginning when we talked about it not being connected to the act of sex. Do you know, and actually in that 4 minutes that we just did there, in my mind, in my body, there was nothing sexual. I might have been sitting here with my hand on my pussy. I still can't say that word, honestly. I have to practice it.
Whatever you want to call it, there's no right or wrong, yeah?
I
It's
know,
about
I probably it's
your
because I
way.
don't usually name it, do you know? And
Yeah,
it's
well,
like,
maybe you
I don't
should.
usually name it. But there I am sitting with this broadcasting out, and there was nothing sexual about it. What I did become aware of was just more about what my body was doing,
But
and not
also,
just that part of my body either.
but we can. I mean, the thing is, when I do embodiment sessions with my clients, right, we can absolutely bring sex into it. We can be like, yeah, let's get our sex on. Let's be like, let's fuck ourselves with our energy, right?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
really get sexual. Let's really like pump this up and get all excited. But we're not doing it for anybody else, right? We're doing it for ourselves. So you
Mhm.
can use sexual energy. You can get really into it and like as an embodiment practice, I do this often. I use music and I work with that energy, and I unleash myself. I feel amazing, right? And it's,
Mhm.
yes, it's using sex. Yes, it's using sexual energy, and it can feel really raw and exciting and like goddessy and whatever, slutty maybe even, right? If that's what you want to access, it's about you making an empowered choice. What am I going to use this for? Because also use sexual energy to be an amazing bloody mother. Yeah, I use
Yeah,
it to be a great partner. I use it to
yeah,
show up better in my work. So I use
yeah,
it for everything. There is no, and it's about owning our sexuality, owning this energy, knowing that it's there to be accessed if you dare, my love.
yeah, yeah. Do you know, it
Yeah.
was funny, right? Well, this at the weekend, we had a weekend of just stopping. Do you know the weekend when you think, actually, I'm going to just sit in my jammies. I'm going to
Mm.
cuddle up to my husband on the couch, and we're going to watch telly. We very rarely watch TV, but we ended up watching Downton Abbey, right? And actually, we had conversations around because you couldn't believe that was only 100 years ago. Some of this stuff.
Mm.
And oh my goodness, where women were in that, and no, the men and women, male and female positioning at that point, and women's sexuality was not even on the cards, do you know? And that view it was, if you got a woman pregnant, she should have said no.
Mm.
And yet, that feels like we've come a long way from that time, and in many ways we have. However, we still compartmentalize sex, and
And
we
we
still
suppress our feelings and our desires
suppress it
around it because
totally.
because it's so taboo. And that's what's so amazing about getting this kind of topic out there in the mainstream and all the episodes that is showed, because we are a nation of hidden sex fans, basically,
Yeah,
because there are so many people in this world that love it but also have challenges around sex,
yeah,
sexuality themselves, around their relationships, but as we just don't talk about it, right? Obviously, in my world, we talk about it all the time, but in the normal world, we don't. And so there is lots of conditioning around, can I say this stuff out loud? And I think that's why people love having conversations with me, because they're like, I don't tell this to anybody. And they just
I
blurt it
say
out to
cookie
me.
power. Abigail, are you hanging in on this conversation? I hope you're still
She's
there.
gone. She's gone, I reckon. She's darted.
I'm laughing here because um, we've got Aileen is saying calling it Fanny feels
Fanny.
more Scottish, Mary.
Yeah.
Well, that's true, you're Fanny.
Yeah.
But if we were in the States, that would mean
But
completely different.
yeah, but it
But
doesn't
we,
matter. Like I say, it's all about connection. It's all about respect. It's all about love. So you can call
yeah,
your beautiful sacred center whatever you like, but
yeah.
yeah, have that connection. Please have that connection.
Absolutely,
Start talking to her.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that just being able to start the conversation, it was like it was National Mental Health Awareness Day
Mm.
on Sunday, and I mean, I put out there that you know I've suffered from anxiety for a long, long time. I call it that because that's what I have to label it for people to understand. I just
Yeah.
kind of embody who I am and know how to understand what I'm feeling, how to react to it, what strategies to use. I've just learned how to embrace it all. Just
Yeah.
embrace it all, not fight it. And
Mm.
there's something in this about if we don't actually start to speak about it more openly and don't start to have conversations like this out loud, putting these things on television, being able to come on to chat shows like this,
Yeah.
um, then we can all do our bit to be able to take part in that change.
Yeah.
And it'll be funny actually if we were to have this conversation maybe in another year's time, because I know this conversation would have been different 9 months ago.
For sure.
So,
Yeah.
and just being able to see what that journey unfolds, because
And
of
it So
you
I
know
was
what I
just
mean.
going to go on. I was just going to say, like, it really is about like empowering yourself to
Yeah,
have the conversations with yourself. Like, how do I connect with myself in terms of pleasure? And I don't mean necessarily self-pleasuring, getting naked, using sex toys, all of that sort of thing. I mean about
yeah,
just general connection to your body, like we've just done just now. That is a form of self-pleasure, right? And then, are you being fulfilled in your relationships? Are you being fulfilled in your life? And if not, why? What is stopping you? And really just acknowledging that, and what's stopping you from speaking up. And
Yeah.
maybe, like, the thing that I find with a lot of the people I work with that are in relationships, they're scared to speak up, but their partner's also scared to speak up. So then no one ever speaks up, right?
Yeah.
But actually, what it takes is you to stand in your power and have that conversation. And then most of the time, you're giving the other person permission to do the same. And so if we start to talk about this, start to open up the conversation, it's only going to get better, isn't it?
Absolutely. Because it's like, as human beings, we're designed to reject uncertainty. We
Mm,
love certainty, even if it means staying in a terrible marriage for 15 years. Do you know, even if it means
mm,
having people around you that don't really bring positivity to your table. Do you know, it keeps us in a place that at least if we feel safe, even though we're
yeah,
miserable.
yeah,
Even though we're miserable. So even though, I mean, I'm laughing a little bit and I have a little cheeky smile at some of this stuff, but what I'm recognizing is my own disruption about some of it and being
mm,
curious. Why
mm,
is that? Is there something more for me to learn? Now,
mm,
I know that on the show, I remember when I first met you and you talked about tantric massage and stuff, and I remember going, I don't actually know what that is, right? And so I did Google it and I went looking for a bit of YouTube. It doesn't,
yeah.
there's
Don't
nothing
do
out
it.
there, nothing.
I
So
know.
one of the things when I knew that the show was on last week and I knew you were going to be doing that on the show was just curiosity around what it was. And part of me was really, I was amazed at just how intimate it actually was,
Mm,
just how intimate. And if you had said to me, I would have watched you with a woman naked with our pussy completely out there and being massaged, and you even talked about her G spot.
mm,
And at that point, I thought, wow, wow. It was beautiful. It was intimate. It was tender. It was caring. It was loving. It was nurturing. There was nothing sexual about it whatsoever in that moment. And I remember my husband turned to me and went, "Would you have that done?" And I went, "Right now, no,
mm.
but I'm so curious around it. So
Yeah.
curious around it."
And I mean,
Um,
this is the thing that I've been speaking to a lot of people about as well this week, is that obviously the show was really condensed. We did 16 hours of filming into that 12 minutes I think I was on the show. And
yeah.
the experience of a tantric massage is 3 hours long. So you only saw literally
Wow.
bits of it,
Oh,
right?
I had
I
no
think it was less than a
idea.
few minutes that, and so the part which you guys saw is almost like 2 hours into the massage, right? And so
Wow.
it's a process of surrender. That is what happens in a tantric massage, surrendering to everything that happens within your body. We are working with sexual energy. There is going to be, for some, not all, points of arousal, points of pleasure, points of orgasm potentially, right? But there's also, on the flip side of that, it gives the body permission to let go of what's there when you reach those places in pleasure. So it's it's like, that's what I said when I was asked that question. Like, it can be sexual if you look at it like that,
Yeah.
but not. It's about the intention of why we're doing it. And it's
Wow.
like, we're not doing it for a happy ending. We're not doing it to reach an orgasm. We're not doing it to get to a goal of something like an orgasm. What we're doing it for is to let the body surrender into what is there and to what wants to let go. And ultimately, that could be anything. So if you came to me for a tantric massage tomorrow, it could be very different to if you came to me in 6 weeks' time. Like, every time you experience something like that, the body wants to let go of something else. But Claire had been working with me and had worked with me for quite some time on the Goddess Awakening, and done lots of opening
Yeah.
up, lots of work to embody her, lots of work to give her permission to let go.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, if you came to me tomorrow, you probably wouldn't even relax in the first tantric massage, because you'd just be
Yeah.
like, oh, what's Kerry going
When
to do
I
to me?
open.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, like, this is one of the beauty of actually doing some of this deep inner work beforehand. So
Yeah.
and that's, yeah, and so it's it's very intimate, but it's also the modality that's absolutely healed me from my past, from my trauma. And they didn't really talk about any of my backstory in Channel 4,
Yeah,
but the reason I'm so passionate about it is because I wouldn't be doing what I do today if it weren't for the fact that it healed me,
yeah,
right? It
yeah.
healed me. So yeah.
Wow. And the thing is, it's really lovely to hear. I never even gave it a thought that actually what we saw in that evening was like 2.5 hours into the massage itself.
Mm,
Because of course we just went from walking into a room and then suddenly you were just present.
yeah.
But of course there would have been a journey to that place.
It's a full process, yeah.
Mhm. We've got a wee question that's actually come up from Kat. Just where did you start in your journey? She's considered doing a course in tantric coaching as she's been following another sex coach. What's your thoughts on that, Kerry?
So I started with, and this is why I kind of combine energy alignment and tantric embodiment. I started with training in a modality called EAM, which is energy alignment method. And that really it's like a psychology method to get into the subconscious. And that's how I started to kind of understand what is it that I really think and feel, and how can I transform my energy and work with energy. And then I'm just reading that next message and I'm like, I don't think that's for,
I
I
don't
don't
think
even
we'll
know who that
bother.
is. Um, so, and then because of my own healing journey and what had come up for me in terms of my past sexual trauma and stuff that I'd actually completely forgotten about, someone recommended that I went and saw a tantric practitioner. And
Yeah,
because I went and did that with my own healing, I then spent basically the next couple of years training. I became an assistant. I worked really closely with the Tantra Massage School to train in tantric massage. And ever since then, I've just done various different things, shamanic stuff, deep dives into like sexuality work that has just expanded my horizons. I've worked with Layla Martin and done her membership. I've done lots and lots of different things in this field to just keep expanding my knowledge. And that's where I am here now. Yeah. So that's
and
like
it
a
is,
short version.
and that's the thing, isn't it? Because you're here now, but you've invested heavily in the last 5 years into your own discovery, your
Thousands.
own
Yeah.
development, to be able to be in this place where you are on Channel 4, you are in a documentary, and you have helped hundreds of women
Yeah.
along that way. But being able to just connect with whatever is right for you and take the first step into it is the most important thing in all of this.
And I
So,
would say, like, just quickly on the whole training thing,
yeah,
it's about walking your talk ultimately, right? So you can train in everything. I've trained in so many modalities, but unless you're embodied with it, unless you're doing the work and being that person, like that's ultimately more trained than anything that someone can teach you in a book. Yeah.
totally. I actually had a conversation recently with a psychotherapist, somebody in that field, and they said, "Oh, you can just put all your clients to me." And I said, "Well, actually, probably not, because there has to be that connection first of all, and you
Mm,
actually have to be. For me, anyway, even as a coach that I am, I can only help people with the stuff I already have worked on myself."
exactly. Yeah.
And then because I've worked on that, that will attract a certain type of person. And you kind of just tick off the box. You have to walk the walk, talk the talk all at the same
Mm,
time. And that means, certainly for me, sometimes having to show up really vulnerably, having to
yeah.
push my boundaries. If you'd said to me, Kerry, 9 years ago, 10 years ago, I would be on talking about going skinny dipping, pussy power, tantric massage, being able to say openly, talk about mental health. I
Yeah.
would never have done all of that because this
Yeah.
head of mine, that masculine, was saying people will judge you, people won't work with you,
Mm,
people won't like you. And when I look back at my corporate life, I always had amazing results and, oh gosh, incredible work working with teams and boards, and it was fabulous. But actually, when I think about who I am now after another 10 years of layering and developing, wow,
yeah.
this woman could show up way more powerfully and way more in service than she ever could have done 10 years ago.
And it never stops, the work.
Never stops, does
It's a
it?
constant thing, and
Oh,
actually I love it. I don't ever wanna
yeah,
stop learning and expanding, you know?
never. And it's tough sometimes because that constant shift of your identity as you're
Yeah,
constantly open to learning and in an emerging space. But do you know something? It's because I meet you, people like you, people, and you make new connections of like-minded with a growth mindset that
yeah,
you keep pushing each other through the whole time, and
exactly.
that's what makes it exciting. So,
Yeah,
Kerry, and everybody, you can pop onto Amazon because this isn't just one I ordered because she was coming on. It is dog. It's got wee bendy bits at the front and everything, as it's been stuffed in bags. But all the stuff, I know what you've spoken about tonight. There is a whole load more detail and so
in
much more
there.
in the book that
Yeah.
people will be able to pop onto Amazon and get. And we can put a link into the chats in the comment section and all the events for this. But where can people find you, Kerry?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram under Kerry O'Sullivan Goddess. You will find me on there. And actually, in the links in my bio, there's links to the book. There's links to the Channel 4 program if you haven't seen it, and my programs and everything that I do. So you can connect with me on Instagram, or you can go to my website kerryosullivan.co.uk. They're the best places to go because on my website you can sign up for my newsletter and things like that as well. So
And you've got the
yeah,
most amazing photos on your website. Beautiful, really, truly beautiful pictures.
yeah,
So we can find on your website, over on Instagram, social
yeah,
media platforms generally.
yeah.
And can you tell us, you've referred a couple of times to your Goddess Awakening. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that at the moment so that people can
It starts in well 2 weeks yesterday it starts,
wow.
and it kind of closes next Wednesday, and there's some
Yeah.
amazing bonuses if you sign up before Saturday. It's a 12-week intensive soul journey, and it's basically it's the process that you go into to be in a place of surrender, to connect to your goddess, to lean into everything that there is within you, to accept and embrace everything that you are. So over the 12 weeks, there's embodiment practices, which are they're almost like the jewel of the course, where I teach you how to embrace rage and connect to laughter, how to connect to your breast, how to connect to your vulva. There's loads of really juicy stuff that we do over the 12 weeks. There's loads of support from me. There's one-to-one calls. If you sign up
Wow.
early, it's a real deep dive. So,
Wow.
and we start,
And you'll
yeah,
be
just
able to
over a
find out
week.
more about that on the website.
Yeah, it's all in the bio, it's all on the website, and you can just book a call in with me if you wanna know more. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And we've got Kerry Hales joining us tonight saying it will be
Ah,
amazing. And I
it
know that it
is.
absolutely will be
Yeah.
amazing. So, Kerry O'Sullivan,
Thank you,
Tantric
Gord.
goddess, star of Channel 4, best-selling author. Thank you so much. And
Oh,
we
thank
said before
you.
this, what will we talk about? And I said, let's just see what
Oh, we've
emerges.
only scratched the surface as well, haven't
Crazy,
we?
isn't it? And we're over an hour in,
Yeah,
and it's just been
yeah.
a wonderful space. So thank you for gifting me that time. And everybody, you know where to get Kerry. And remember, if you're wanting to be able to hear more about the Fierce and
Mm,
Fabulous Society, about the Women in Business Summit, do connect in with the Fierce and Fabulous Society on Facebook. And it's a community of like-minded women all supporting one another to be able to
yeah,
step up, step out, and at the same time create sustainable and profitable businesses. And as
perfect.
always, to everybody who's joined us this evening, thank you so much for
Thank
your time and
you.
contribution. It is really, really valued. And we will see you back here next week when we have the amazing Joanne Wheatley and Zoe Hawkins from the In Good Company Coaching. And they are fabulous, truly fabulous. And we'll be able to share more about their journey with you then. So thank you to everybody. Thank you again, Kerry, and we'll see you
Thank
back
you.
here this time on a Tuesday, 7 p.m. for the Fierce and Fabulous Society Talk Show. Take care, everyone.